Have you ever woken up one morning and realized that there was only one person in your head? Not a loved one, not someone you just met, but that person, the person you can't stop thinking about. Why? Why do they haunt you so much? Carl Jung, the master of psychoanalysis, has a terrifying answer. And when you know, you'll never look at them the same way again. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate." The person in your head. Not because you like them. Not because they are special. But because your mind, your unconscious, is trying to send you a message. You are being controlled by the very wounds you have never faced. In Jungian psychology, there is a concept called the shadow. It is the part of yourself that you hide, deny, or don't dare to touch. And then, what happens? You start to entrust your shadow to others. Maybe that person isn't special, but in your mind, they reflect a deep part of you, a part you've never dared to look directly at. Jung believed that when you are obsessed with someone, it is a sign that your inner self is crying out for help. Intense feelings are not proof of love. They may be proof of an unhealed wound. You see them in your dreams. You hear their name everywhere. You think it is the universe sending a signal? Maybe. But Jung said, it is you, talking to yourself. Jung called it projection. You don't really see the person. You see a part of yourself that is missing. Maybe it's the desire to be loved. Maybe it's the part you've never dared to show, the strong, the weak, the rebellious. And the person, even if unintentionally, awakens that part of you. You remember a look. You feel hurt when they are cold. You feel as if I knew them a long time ago. Jung said, we don't live just once. Our souls remember. Maybe that person brings up a wound from childhood. Someone who abandoned you. Someone you never forgave. Or, you. You don't need them. You need to understand why you need them. That nagging presence in your mind is just the key that opens the secret door of your soul. Carl Jung didn't teach you to erase someone from your mind. He taught you to look deeper and ask, what am I avoiding within myself? Obsession is an opportunity. A way to awaken, to reach your true self. When you face the shadow, you are no longer afraid of that person. You no longer need them in your head. Because you understand the message. You no longer ask, why is that person always in my head? You ask, who am I without them? You think you're thinking about them randomly? No. In Jung's theory, there's something that few people know about, the principle of synchronicity. Those strange coincidences, those invisible connections between you and that person, are not random. You think about them. And at that moment, they send you a message. You dream about them, and then you run into them the next day. Carl Jung called it meaningful coincidences, a form of cosmic communication. But what's scarier is, these connections aren't always light-filled. Not everyone who comes to mind is the right person, at the right time. Carl Jung warned, an unhealed soul will always be attracted to an old wound in a new form. You think it's love. But it could be a lesson being retold. A lesson you haven't learned yet. He appears, not to love you, but to drag you back into the darkness. Jung was haunted by a question. Have the people we meet walked into our lives before, in another form? He believed that the human subconscious is not limited to the present. Maybe you and that person met in another life. Loved, betrayed, in debt to the soul. You don't remember. But your mind remembers very clearly. Every time they pop into your head, something is triggered. A strange feeling, a familiar pain, something like a memory that has never lived. You start to doubt yourself. You dream more. You see strange signs. You feel something is very wrong, and very right. That's when your unconscious opens a forbidden door. And you start to see the truth behind that person. The truth is, that person never leaves you. Not because they are special, but because you cannot be a complete person until you understand why they are there. Every person we meet is a piece of a mirror, but there are pieces of a mirror that break us, and then we are reborn as ourselves. They can be ghosts from the past. They can be soulmates. Or worse, a part of you, trying to come back to be heard. There comes a moment when you look back at all the times they have come into your mind. You realize, it wasn't a coincidence. It was a ritual awakening. Jung once likened the unconscious to a dormant volcano. And that person was simply the first spark. It wasn't that they came into your life. It was that you went on a journey deeper into yourself. Have you ever asked yourself, if I forget them, what am I left with? The truth may make you shudder. You're not missing them, you're missing a part of yourself that's been forgotten for so long. The fear is no longer scary. When you understand that, you are the one who holds the key. You don't have to banish the figure from your mind. You just have to talk to it. Ask, what have you come to teach me? What do you reflect in me that I have never dared to face? And then, when you listen long enough, the name will fade away. Not because you have forgotten, but because you have understood. Carl Jung doesn't tell you to run away from your obsession. He teaches you to walk through it. Because only when you step into the darkness within yourself will you find true light. That person is not destiny. That person is a signal. And the signal is an invitation from your soul. Will you reject it? Or will you walk the path your mind has always avoided? In the spiritual journey, there are no lost people. Only those who have not dared to go deep enough into themselves. Carl Jung said, the encounter with the shadow is the prerequisite for enlightenment. The person you can't stop thinking about is not the end, but the gateway. You think you're looking for them, but actually, you're looking for yourself, through their faces. Jung once asked a question that shocked the world. What would happen if you faced every part of yourself, even the darkest part? The answer is, you would be free. Free from obsessions. Free from attachment to emotions, shadows, and the past. Free to love without being tied down. Free to understand, not just dream. When someone keeps repeating in your mind, ask one last question. Am I missing myself through someone else? When you have the courage to answer, they will disappear. Not because you forgot, but because you have learned your lesson. And then something strange happens. You no longer need anyone to fill the void in your heart. Because you realize, you are the one you have been looking for. You've just passed through one veil. But how many more doors are waiting to be opened? Carl Jung once wrote, "What happens inside you, if you don't understand it, it will happen outside as fate." So if you can't control the people who are always in your head, they may be controlling you. Through your subconscious, your trauma, and your unnamed darkness. Why are you attracted to the same type of person? Why do you dream about the same face over and over again? Why do you feel an intense connection to someone you barely know? Maybe it's not the person, but a part of you trying to talk. Effect: the main character's shadow separates, walks towards himself, and says something with his eyes. If this video gives you pause, get ready, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Have you ever wondered, why do wounded souls attract you? How do you disconnect spiritually from someone who has left? Twin flames, destined love, or a psychological addiction? Are dreams a message from your true soul? Leave a comment about what haunts you. And if you're brave enough, I'll take you further. Into the deeper layers of Carl Jung, where light only appears after you dare to look into the darkness. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make your unconscious conscious, it will run your life, and you will call it destiny." Do you think that person keeps popping up in your head because you miss them? No. They are a role chosen by your unconscious to recall something you have never healed. You are drawn to their eyes, their voice, their energy. Not because they are special, but because their frequency is touching your deepest psychological scars. Every time they appear in your mind, it is a reenactment ritual. A play, rewritten from old trauma, but played in a new context, with new people. He or she could represent the father you always wanted to be acknowledged, the mother you never had the chance to hold, the fragmented soul from a past life that you never named. Jung believed that the unconscious speaks in symbols, and the person you are thinking about may simply be a symbol of something sacred deep within you. You're not really haunted by them. You're haunted by the emotions they awaken. And when you dare to step through that mask, you'll see something terrifying but liberating. The person who's always been in your head is you, in a version you've never dared to face. You can't erase someone from your mind, because you're fighting your unconscious mind with your mind. It's an unequal battle. Instead of forcing yourself to forget, learn to listen to the message that the person's image brings. Whenever they come to mind, try stopping and asking, who do they remind you of from your past? What emotions do they awaken? Abandonment, rejection, or longing to be loved? If you were dreaming, what part of yourself do they represent? Carl Jung believed, you cannot change what you are not conscious of. Write a letter, don't send it to that person, but instead of blaming or regretting, thank them for showing you a forgotten part of yourself. Then burn it as a ritual of closure. Not to forget, but to release the energy that is being held back. When you stop thinking about them, don't think they disappear. They have become a reconciled part of you. And that's when you get yourself back. You're looking for someone to fill the void. But what you really need is to be the person that the wounded child in you longs to hold. You can start that today. You are no longer haunted by them. Not because you have forgotten, but because you have seen what is really behind that shadow. A part of your soul, once forgotten, now embraced with awareness, with unconditional acceptance. You have stopped looking for them in others, because you no longer lack them in yourself. They do not come to stay. They come to awaken something sacred in you, and then quietly leave. Like a dream, you cannot keep it forever, but you can wake up and change. Carl Jung left us a legacy that is not in books, but in every moment you dare to turn inward. When someone keeps popping into your head, don't be afraid. Ask, what are you trying to tell me? What part of myself am I missing? And then, you will no longer be haunted, you will be guided. If you're here, maybe you're ready for what comes next. No more running away. No more wearing masks, but living with a soul that has never been forgotten. Carl Jung didn't help you erase anyone. He helped you see clearly, and step out of the darkness with a brighter light. Now, the door that opens is no longer that person. It's you.